It's a pleasure to be here. This is a very unusual opportunity for me because as a neurological surgeon and being in this business for now over 50 years, I'm usually talking about the pros, cons, alternatives, and risks of surgery. But today, I'm not going to be talking about those issues, rather about some of the most interesting and complex patients and some of the most amazing human beings I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with and interacting with during my practice of medicine and surgery. Those are patients who are living with Chiari 1 malformation, Syringomyelia, and often with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Chiari 1 malformation is we believe, hereditary condition where we see, I don't know if I can, no, okay, that's all right, where we can see the tonsils of the cerebellum are blocking off the flow of spinal fluid in the normal flow from the brain up and down around the spinal cord and to be absorbed again in the brain. And this blockage results in a collection of fluid, often called syringomyelia, within the spinal cord. And it also results in a myriad of signs and symptoms that make up the constellation of Chiari 1 malformation and Syringomyelia. This is a more severe case, and on your left, you can see the large syrinx that was caused by this blockage of flow, and on the right, after I did my surgery, decompressed it, you see the syrinx has collapsed dramatically, but not totally disappeared, nor has the effects of having the syrinx for years on the patient's body and neurological system disappeared, although definitely changed and improved. This is a syndrome that's commonly associated with Chiari 1 malformation and Syringomyelia. It's a syndrome called Ehlers-Danlos, which many of you know is associated with hypermobility, hyperflexibility of the soft tissues, the ligaments and tendons that hold the spine together, and other organs in the more complex forms. But you can see in this example how the patient, when they flex and extend, sorry, getting a little technical assistance. When they flex and extend, instead of the vertebrae being right on top of each other, slip forward and back. That's called a spondylolisthesis and retrolisthesis, and can cause problems in the neck, in the back, and the same thing analogous in the shoulders and hips, elbows, wrists, fingers, and other joints of the body. And this is again a genetic syndrome that has a relationship with Chiari and Syringomyelia. So the treatments for these conditions are well known to you, including surgery, but there's a myriad of conventional treatments, rehabilitation options, certain types of equipment that improves the quality of life of patients with these disorders. And patients with these disorders, whether it's simply a Chiari 1 or a Chiari 1 with Syringomyelia or an Ehlers-Danlos with or without those, they all have some degree of neurological dysfunction and symptomatology that respond to different degrees to these different interventions. Something as simple as changing the environment with an ergonomic chair or an elevated desk, or doing Pilates to strengthen the core can totally change one's life. And then we have all the medications and patches and even CBD oils, which we're not going to go in during this lecture, that a lot of people find quite helpful to modify their symptomatology and improve their quality of life. What I'm going to focus on today is something totally different from all of those conventional treatments. I'm going to focus on what alternatives individuals with Chiari 1, with Syringomyelia, with Ehlers-Danlos have to enjoy a long and happy and healthy life. And I'm going to start out with a very basic tenet, which sounds simplified, but it's so essential because everybody has the same issue. You are what you eat. And this is kind of one of my folk heroes, Dr. Barry Sears, who's written a series of books and articles, scientific studies about the importance of an anti-inflammatory diet in conditions like the ones we're dealing with today, and how that improves quality of life. So it's not just what you eat, it's not just the diet, it's also certain supplements. And one of the most potent and effective anti-inflammatories is omega-3. And omega-3 can come from very simple forms over the counter to his sort of super solution, which is only available on the internet, but has tremendous anti-inflammatory qualities. So it's very important because it not only protects your soft tissues and your nervous system, but also all your other body systems in your brain and heart, etc. These other supplements you're seeing here are complementary. In the case of vitamin D3, having a good vitamin D intake in your diet and good levels in your blood is essential to optimize the anti-inflammatory effect of omega. There's other anti-inflammatories, multivitamins, and people take for granted certain things like bowel movements, but those of you who suffer from these different conditions realize how important it is to regulate your bowel and bladder and other functions. So that's where probiotics like Culturelle and magnesium, natural combinations, can really improve your quality of life. Now, there's also advertisements and especially with social media today, all kinds of solutions and magical solutions and meds that really aren't evidence-based. That means they haven't been studied in a prospective randomized fashion and proved to be scientifically effective. And this is just an example. You can walk in a drugstore and see a section on how to improve your brain function. And none of those things have been proven effective, at least that I've reviewed. And this is what is effective. Again, you are what you eat. And there's no doubt that the health of your brain and your body is reflected in a great degree on what you eat, what you put in your mouth, the type of diet. And what Dr. Sears and others recommend, who are nutritionists and specialists in this area, is a Mediterranean diet based on fish and fruits and nuts and vegetables. And it's a very important thing to be very meticulous about what you put in your body, because it really has a total relationship to how you feel, how you behave, and how you survive in your quality of life. So it's important not only to see what you put in your body, but portion control. That means having a significant breakfast, a moderate lunch, and a very light dinner. Why? Because when you're up during the day, you metabolize what you eat, and at night, people like myself who get home at 10 or 11 at night and eat a big dinner are setting themselves up for big problems. So it's important to balance your portion control, your type of diet, and make sure your BMI, which is your body mass index, is really within reasonable limits. So these are really important lessons that everybody, especially those who have challenges with their health, such as our our concepts we're discussing today. There's not only good things to take and to eat and to think about, but also bad things to avoid. And this is just a list of some of the things which have a negative effect on your metabolism, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight, obesity, BMI. It's important to know there's a big difference, for example, between white bread and whole grain. And these are things that everybody should know, especially people dealing with these issues. Now, what about your brain? Instead of just drinking what's in the jar in the drugstore, are there things you can do to actually not only repair your brain, but also exercise your brain and keep it active? And there are good evidence-based studies that working on computers, doing certain mental stimulating activities can really change your cognitive function and can prevent and alter the course of dementia, which is a natural process with aging, but also people with certain impairments, and they fall into different categories in the Alzheimer type spectrum. So it's important that people do these brain exercises, just like the aerobics we're about to talk to for the rest of your body. Everybody who has a trauma, an injury, a catastrophic injury or disease really has to make a big choice. And this is important. You know, even cancer patients, you can either be passive or you can be proactive. And what does that mean? If you're passive, you can sit back and have chemotherapy and radiation therapy and just wait for the next treatment and see yourself lose weight and energy and vitality and emotionally be devastated. Or you can take a more aggressive approach. What does that mean? That every day of your life, whether you've got a Chiari or Ehlers-Danlos or you're dealing with a malignancy, aerobic exercise has been proven in combination with a high protein diet to strengthen, to buff up your immune system. And these are some agents that I've found very helpful. They're high in protein, they're low in sugar, and they're low in calories. But one of these little protein drinks is 30 grams. And the studies have shown, especially in people of my age, that if a man over 60 should have at least 60 to 80 grams of protein a day, and a woman 40 to 60 grams of protein a day. So a couple of these shakes or a protein bar can make a huge difference, in addition to the Mediterranean type diet we talked about. And one of the most important things is not just to have the protein, to have the good diet, but to make sure that your weight falls within a reasonable range. And this range, this BMI that you see listed here in the low 20s, what that means is you're less likely to have diabetes and a myriad of other medical multisystematic problems, system problems that normally can lead to premature death and disability. So this is really important. Be proactive, especially when you have a challenge like a Chiari or Syringomyelia. Very important. Now, what other ways can someone who has one of these conditions, how else can they improve their quality of life and their longevity? One of the most important things is to lower stress, because stress affects all your body systems. We know what it does to the heart, but it affects your other systems of your body just as much. Your brain, your renal system, your hepatic, all the systems are negatively affected by stress. So it's very important to manage it, and there's a lot of opportunities. You know, at one extreme is yoga, which you know is based on stretching and concentration and meditation, and at the other is Pilates. And it's very important for people, for example, with Ehlers-Danlos, not to do yoga, but to do Pilates, which some consider a form of the same. And that is basically focusing on core strengthening and core strength and posture. So, you know, it's very important, because the more people who have Ehlers-Danlos are placed in traction or stretch, the more they stress those ligaments and joints, and the more problems they have. Whereas if they do the Pilates and they build their core strength and focus on their posture, it becomes a total opposite positive experience for these people. So this is why it's important if you have these syndromes and you've got neck pain or back pain or pain, headache in the back of your head, occipital neuralgia, that you work with this concept of building your core strength. And of course, you see there's many different alternative approaches. Meditation and mindfulness. A lot of people think meditation is something for people who go into a room someplace or join a cult. It's quite the opposite. Some of the most amazing leaders in business and sports and entertainment and different segments of our societies spend several periods of time every day stepping back from the high intensity of their lives and isolate and meditate. And this totally brings things into focus. It relaxes them, and there's many different approaches and there's many different opportunities in this space for someone to do simply even 5 or 10 minutes a day or several times a day. It can really change their life, their focus, and re-energize them to really go out, so that every afternoon is like a morning and every evening is like when you first wake up. And this is the beauty of life. It's very important because every day is precious. And this is part of what the message of this lecture is. What about happiness? People say, well, it's nice to be happy. Well, the scientists say it's not just nice, it's essential for survival. What is happiness? Well, there's a lot of people that have some pretty interesting ideas, as you can see from Dr. Seuss to Hugh Downs and Groucho Marx. But the most important thing is people think about happiness and they really obsess about it, because people realize through their life that without happiness, you're not a whole person. And with happiness, you have the opportunity to open up many, many new doors and enjoy your life every day and every moment. So these are some examples of people that have been so successful with this concept. What is the secret to happiness? Well, it's not a new concept. Some of you may recognize one of our forefathers. And there's a lot of controversy right now in our history as we go through a period of a lot of social readjustment. But it's important to realize that they thought about this. And hundreds of years ago, happiness was an important concept. And then today, more recently, it's been reiterated by many people in many ways. And this is one example about how to be happy. Be generous to others. And it's something that really works. It's a science, though, not just an emotion. And that's very important for people to realize. There have been good evidence-based studies. And these studies, very often by public health specialists, have gone on for many decades. And they've longitudinally looked who lives longer, and is happiness part of that longevity. And these are some examples. 2 nuns living in the same convent, decade after decade. They eat the same thing. They spend their days doing the same thing. They wear the same outfits. And why does one live 15, 20% longer? Because they're extroverted, because they're positive, because they have a good sense of humor, because they're happy. That's a big margin. Think about it. Another study is with twins who have the same genetics, grew up in the same family with the same opportunities, same education and background, and one outsurvives the other. And these are good scientific studies because one is outgoing, has good personality and communication skills, the other is introverted and doesn't relate well and doesn't express themselves well. And so this is a very important thing, because this 15 to 20%, that's just as important as genetics in determining someone's longevity. So these are scientific studies that happiness is really an important component of longevity. So what are we talking about? We're talking about diet. We're talking about aerobics. We're talking about protein supplements, meditation, all the different options, yoga, Pilates. There are many different ways to have someone feel good and live long. And these are other important psychological domains. One has to have self-acceptance, feel good about themselves, continue to focus on their growth and development as a person, not just look at what other people are doing or compare yourself. Look at your complex environment and challenges and put it into a good perspective. Establish short and long-term goals, and cherish and maintain quality ties to people who are important to you. These are all really important things, and they're all part of the plan to live a long time and to be happy. Now, this is something probably a lot of people underestimate, the importance of sleep. We always thought growing up that if you could sleep 12 hours, that was great. And everybody said, well, 8 or 9 hours was perfect. But there is a science there. And the science shows us it's not just the length of sleep, it's the quality of sleep. It's the deepness of your sleep. It's your REM sleep. And there are numerous studies, good scientific studies, that show the optimal sleep time is 7 hours per night. And does that mean it's not good to sleep 6 or 8 hours? Well, it doesn't mean that at all. What it means is if you want to set a goal, you know that you can perform well and have a good health and longevity if you set that goal. But you can be a little less or above, but it's important to allow yourself to have that deep sleep, that REM sleep. And a lot of people, when they sleep, especially with Chiari and EhlersDanlos, they have a lot of pain. So you can do certain things. If you think about it, the reason they have pain at night is because during the day, pain is a sensation. And during the day, you get visual stimulation, auditory stimulation, physical stimulation. People see you, touch, talk, noises, and you're thinking about things. But at night, it's all disappears. You're in a dark room, it's quiet, and you have no stimulation. So pain is able to step up and sit up and take over. And so how can you change that? By changing your environment. People use wave machines. Music at night is very important. People have difficulty breathing because of their weight or physical challenges, can use certain devices like a CPAP machine to help them oxygenate and sleep well during the night. People with Chiari or EhlersDanlos often can put on a soft collar. So no matter what position they're in at night, they're comfortable because they're not having this pain in their neck and shoulders. And they're not leaning necessarily and having the neuropathies. So there are many options for sleep. A good firm surface is thought to be essential. And if you think about it, the animal instinct is when you hurt your back, you lay on the floor. And that tells you that a firm surface is really the best to sleep on. But these are important factors. Sleep is really, you spend a lot of time, think about it, in your 24-hour day. So it's something you should really invest in a big way and make sure you have optimal sleep. Now, I'd like to share with you a video message, because whenever I think about happiness, whenever I think about challenges, emotional and physical, financial, political, and the world is in chaos right now between COVID and left and right and politics and lack of communication. When you think about it, you have to put it in perspective. And this particular video I'm going to show you now, in my mind, really does just that. So if you give us a second, we'll bring up this video, and I'd like you to listen to it carefully.
And John Hamilton asked me the question, what is the most important thing that people should know about you? And my answer was simply that I have a very happy life. Thank you. So, even though there are many obstacles in my life, with a lot of them being created by progeria, I don't want people to feel bad for me. I don't think about these obstacles all the time, and I'm able to overcome most of them anyway. So, I'm here today to share with you my philosophy for a happy life. So, for me, there are three aspects to this philosophy. The first aspect to my philosophy is that I'm okay with what I ultimately can't do because there's so much that I can do. Now, people sometimes ask me questions like, isn't it hard living with progeria? Or, what daily challenges of progeria do you face? And I'd like to say that even though I have progeria, most of my time is spent thinking about things that have nothing to do with progeria at all. Now, this doesn't mean that I ignore the negative aspects of these obstacles. When I can't do something like run a long distance or go on an intense roller coaster, I know what I'm missing out on. But instead, I choose to focus on the activities that I can do for things that I'm passionate about, like scouting, or music, or comic books, or any of my favorite Boston sports teams. Yeah. So, however, sometimes I need to find a different way to do something by making adjustments, and I want to put those things in the can-do category. I was able to accomplish my dream of playing snare drum with the marching band, as I believe I can do for all of my dreams. So hopefully you can accomplish your dreams as well with this outlook. The next aspect to my philosophy is that I surround myself with people that I want to be with, people of high quality. I'm extremely lucky to have an amazing family who have always supported me throughout my entire life. And I'm also really fortunate to have a really close group of friends at school. Now, we're kind of goofy. A lot of us are band geeks, but we really enjoy each other's company, and we help each other out when we need to. We see each other for who we are on the inside. But even having made a documentary, going on TV a couple times, I feel like I'm at my highest point when I'm with the people that surround me every day. They provide the real positive influences in my life, as I hope that I can provide positive influence in theirs as well. Thank you. So the bottom line here is that I hope that you appreciate and love your family, love your friends, for you guys, love your bros, and acknowledge your mentors and your community, because they are very real aspects of everyday life that can make a truly significant positive impact. So, the third aspect to the philosophy is keep moving forward. Here's a quote by a man you may know in Walt Disney, and it's one of my favorite quotes. I always try to have something to look forward to, something to strive for to make my life richer. It doesn't have to be big. It could be anything from looking forward to the next comic book to come out, or going on a large family vacation, or hanging out with my friends, to going to the next high school football game. However, all of these things keep me focused and know that there's a bright future ahead. It may get me through some difficult times that I may be having. Now, this mentality includes staying in a forward-thinking state of mind. I try hard not to waste energy feeling badly for myself, because when I do, I get stuck in a paradox where there's no room for any happiness or any other emotion. Now, it's not that I ignore when I'm feeling badly. I kind of accept it. I let it in so that I can acknowledge it and do what I need to do to move past it. I've been thinking this way for many years, but I'd never really had to apply all of these aspects of my philosophy to the test at one time until last January. I was pretty sick. I had a chest cold and I was in the hospital for a few days. I was secluded from all of the aspects of my life that I felt made me me, that kind of gave me my identity. But knowing that I was going to get better and looking forward to a time that I would feel good again helped me to keep moving forward. And sometimes I had to be brave, and it wasn't always easy. Sometimes I faltered, I had bad days, but I realized that being brave isn't supposed to be easy. way to keep moving forward. So, all in all, I don't waste energy feeling bad for myself. I surround myself with people that I want to be with, and I keep moving forward. So with this philosophy, I hope that all of you, regardless of your obstacles, can have a very happy life as well. Oh wait, hang on a sec. One more piece of advice. Never miss a party if you can help it. My school's homecoming dance is tomorrow night, and I will be there. Thank you very much.
So I guess nobody will question why Sam Byrne is one of my heroes. And unfortunately, tragically, he passed away shortly after he made that TED Talk. But whenever I feel sorry for myself, my neck hurts or my back hurts, or I, cut myself or have a tough day, I think about this amazing young man and how happy he was, how positive he was, and how every friendship, every day was so precious to him. And that's why I really think it's important to listen to these words and memorize them and adapt them, adopt them for yourself. The past is history, the future a mystery. Each day is a gift. That's why we call it the present. So I do appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of the things that make me happy, that make me healthy, and allow me to still do what I love to do with my family, my profession, and my community. And I hope that each of you takes something away from this lecture that gives you that same opportunity to be a little happier and a little better and to live a little longer feeling better. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dr. Green.